As we continue to move throughout this week, a lot of big questions in regarding the lineup, the bullpen. Who is your starting pitching? We'll get into all of that today on Locked On Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasko, Carter First 2 on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays, and you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. You guys have been killing it lately. Keep that going. Drop your comments down in the comment section below, as we love to hear from you guys on anything you guys have to say, especially when it comes down to what we're going to talk about today. The lineup, the starting pitching, the bullpen, all of it. We're going to give you guys a full breakdown on what this team will look like when it comes to Saturday's playoff game. Hopefully first of many. Carter, my man, I think let's start with starting pitching. It's something that we have thrown around quite a bit, and there's a little bit of discourse going on online about what should happen, who should pitch where. We'll get into the lineup itself with and without Bichette in the second segment. We'll get into the bullpen in the third. Still a lot to come, but let's start here, Carter. Starting pitching, me and you have pretty much conformed on this, so I'll let the people know what we think, but then we'll have a little bit of discussion on it. Obviously, game one for us is Kevin Gausman, game two, Shane Bieber, and game three, me and you are both sitting at Trey Savage. For me, I think that is absolutely what it should be. I do think that you need to have somebody ready to piggyback off of Trey Savage. Who that will be, I think we can discuss about that. But did I hit the nail on the head with those three for you, Carter?
Yeah, that's what I got going out as well. Like, Kevin Gausman has been with the organization, obviously, for a very long time. You kind of know what Kevin Gausman is going to produce out there. For me, like, if you really wanted to switch Shane Bieber and Kevin Gausman, I really think it is going to be Kevin Gausman. But at the end of the day, not the biggest deal in the world to me. Like, I'm confident in Shane Bieber. I'm confident in Kevin Gausman. Either one you want to go with there is good, but I believe it's going to be Kevin Gausman. Just based off what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Like, I didn't think Trey Savage was going to be the playoff starter when we talked about this 3 weeks ago. But after what we've seen, the Chris Bassitt starts, the Jose Berrios starts with the injuries, and the Max Scherzer and the Trey Savage of it all, I'm the most confident, and it's not even really close for me, with Trey Savage, just with the delivery, with the stuff that he possesses. Like, you can tell that he's amped up on the mound, so the velo's bumped up a little bit from his minor league starts. And with the Rogers Center, with that playoff atmosphere, this guy might throw 105 with how packed the Rogers Center and how loud the Rogers Center is going to be. So with that arm angle, again, we've seen how disgusting it can be. We've seen how hitters struggle to pick up the release point. So for me, it's Trey Savage. And like you said, it is one of those things where it is a piggyback. Like, you have somebody ready to go here. So that kind of explains how I deal with the rest of this starting rotation. But for me, yeah, it's kind of locked up at this point and has been locked up, honestly, for the last couple of weeks. For me, ever since the first start I saw with Trey Savage, I knew this kid was the real deal. So yeah, it's Kevin Gausman for me, 1, Shane Bieber, number 2, Trey Savage, number 3. In terms of the playoff roster in general, you're allowed 26 players. 13 of those can be pitchers. So I think the biggest thing is Jose Berrios on your playoff roster, along with Max Scherzer, or is it like Chris Bassitt? Like, how many starting pitchers are you taking with you to the playoffs of the Toronto Blue Jays?
It's a very tough thing to say because you don't want to gas these guys, right? So I'm going to go up and down the roster a little bit, and I'll talk about a little bit about the bullpen. We'll get more into it when we talk about, hey, who are your top 5 guys that you can trust? But I think we might as well break down what the roster will look like. So we said most likely you have those 3 guys. So that's 3 of your 13 gone right there. You then add in Chris Bassitt, I would assume, is that piggybacking role off of Trey Savage. I think the different stuff that they can bring to the table, I think is different enough that it's a good flip-flop. So I'm going to say Chris Bassitt is that piggybacking role. That's my number 4. Then I would find it very tough to believe that they aren't bringing Max Scherzer and Jose Berrios to a playoff roster. So I'm saying that that's 6 right there. And if you do use them out of the bullpen, okay. But I'm assuming that that's what's going to be. Now, that doesn't leave you with a lot of spots in the bullpen, Carter. So do you want to go over sort of what you're thinking? Do you think they do bring, all of those guys?
So if for yours, like if they're bringing Jose Berrios as well, are they bringing Eric Lauer for you? Because then that's 7 guys that are like probably longer relief pitchers, and then that leaves you with 6 bullpen arms. So clearly, for me, like those numbers don't make sense whatsoever. They clearly cannot do that. So I think Jose Berrios is left off this playoff roster. And it's because of what he's done recently over his last few starts, and even coming out of the bullpen when he did that in the last week of the season, it didn't look great from there either. I wouldn't even be surprised if I'd be a little bit surprised, but I wouldn't hate the move, is the way I should state this, is if Max Scherzer was left off this playoff roster. I think they do take him, and I think it's probably a good idea just with Trey Savage, with some of the uncertainty that you have seen with Chris Bassitt with the injury as well. So I think you got to have somebody to back up these guys. And you do have Eric Lauer coming out of the bullpen. So for me, like you're still going to have Eric Lauer, but you can't take Jose Berrios, Max Scherzer, and Eric Lauer, because then that's 7 of your guys. You only have 6 other bullpen arms. You're going to need more than 6 bullpen arms, obviously. So I'm actually I'd be more inclined to go the other way and only take 4 starters compared to like the 5, rather than obviously going to the 6. So for me, what I think is going to happen, you obviously have the first 3 that we talked about. I think Chris Bassitt right now is my number 4. And then you have Max Scherzer as your number 5. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if they did this, if they had Chris Bassitt kind of as like a piggyback off of Trey Savage, and then him as well off of Max Scherzer if the Trey Savage starts well, because I just think that Chris Bassitt will be more adaptable out of the bullpen compared to Max Scherzer coming out of the bullpen. But then there might be the argument that Max Scherzer can't get out of the first inning without giving up a moonball. So maybe the spin zone is, hey, you don't let him throw the first inning, you start Chris Bassitt, and maybe you let Max Scherzer kind of try to persevere his way out of the bullpen. But for me, like with what Jose Berrios has done, you can't be confident in him pitching in the playoffs. He hasn't even been able to get outs against mediocre teams down the stretch in the regular season. The velocity is down. He's not getting swing and miss on the slurve. You can't have Jose Berrios, unfortunately, on this playoff roster.
Well, for right now, I mean, Jose Berrios is not a guy that you necessarily have to deal with because he is on the 15-game IL still as of right now. So it's not something that this team will immediately for the first 2 games have to really worry about. But when it goes further than that, then a question starts to have to be made. But I agree with you. That's sort of the point I was making, was that Chris Bassitt is probably that piggyback off of Trey Savage, just because the differing stuff, right? Chris Bassitt and Trey Savage throw completely different stuff, completely from different arm angles, everything. It looks very different. So I think the 2 piggybacking those 2 guys would make a lot of sense to me. Now, do I love Max Scherzer wanting to be the game 4 starter? Not necessarily. But that could end up becoming a bullpen day or a, Eric Lauer, Max Scherzer, whatever that may be as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of where I'm at, is I'm more comfortable with throwing Eric Lauer out there than Max Scherzer right now. And maybe with the playoff dynamic, like it's not going to impact Max Scherzer. So like it's not going to get worse for Max Scherzer, but we've seen Eric Lauer be effective all season long. We've seen him be effective out of the bullpen. We've seen him be effective piggybacking off of an opener. Like there's just, especially again, we're going to have to see with the matchups. Like if you have a predominantly left-handed lineup and Max Scherzer can't get out lefties, like you have to throw Eric Lauer. You can't throw Max Scherzer and set him up for failure. That's one thing that John Schneider has done very good at, is setting his players up for success. So that's going to be an interesting key to see how they deal with that. That's why I do think they keep Max Scherzer and they do keep Eric Lauer, just in case, something does go wrong with Trey Savage, Chris Bassitt. There is a blow up start in there that gives you a little bit more forgiveness in how you use and deploy Eric Lauer. If you do want to use him as that bullpen arm, you do use him maybe off a piggyback off Trey Savage as well. So there's a bunch of different things that you can do if you keep Max Scherzer and Eric Lauer. But as we get farther onto this episode, someone's going to be kind of left out here, as we're going to see. Because if you do take Max Scherzer, you do take Chris Bassitt, all those guys, Eric Lauer being in the bullpen, that only allows you to have 7 arms. Once we get to the bullpen arms and who we have in there, somebody that has been with the Toronto Blue Jays immensely over this last stretch will be left off this playoff roster. So it will be interesting to see how they do delegate that. One guy will be getting the short end of the stick, and maybe 2 if you count Jose Berrios, because for me, I just don't see it at all with just the way the playoff roster is going to shape up.
Well, so right now you have 5 guys. There's realistically 10 guys, and that's not counting Jose Berrios because he will still be technically injured. So you will have 8 spots technically for the first 2 games. Then there will have to be a decision made when Jose Berrios does make his return. Then you're going to have to make a decision there. So we'll get into all that as we talk more about the bullpen, but we're going to go into lineups next. What's this lineup look like against right-handed pitching, against left-handed pitching, without Bichette? Because this is a big component here. This team has a lot of utility guys that can be plug and placed for other positions and other guys. So we'll talk about all of that, Carter, when we come right back after this short break. Today's episode brought to you by GameTime. You guys know about GameTime. I talk about it all the time. It's my premier place to get tickets. I just had somebody reach out to me the other day. They said, hey, what's that really good ticketing site that you always use and always talk about? And I said, GameTime. It is unbeatable. Don't go anywhere else. Strictly go off of GameTime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live, the energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screen, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use GameTime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. GameTime is fast, easy, and backed by the GameTime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets discovered or delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. That's a big one for everybody. That my friend reached out to me. He's like, hey, are these like the final ticket prices, or is there going to be like a extra thing when I go to checkout? I'm like, no, that's it. He goes, oh my goodness, these are steals of a deal. I'm going right into it. And then you get the $20 off as well by using the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download GameTime today.
Today's episode is also sponsored by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for the people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch Money is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. It can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Whether it's investing in stocks, whether it's just other investments, whether it's your budgeting, whether it's what you want to save up for any sort of purchase, Monarch Money is for you, and it helps you in so many different ways. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB.
So, Carter, continuing on. Nice.
Every time, I swear we do that.
I know. As we continue on, we're going to talk about lineups here right away. We'll get into the bullpen of it all in the last segment, but we're going to talk right-handed versus right-handed pitching versus left-handed pitching with and without Bo Bichette. Carter, I want us to start without Bo Bichette. I know that's terrible to say, and we want Bo Bichette back, but I haven't seen anything yet that convinces me 100% that Bo Bichette will be playing, and I think let's start worst-case scenario, and that's without Bo Bichette. We'll get into what this lineup and how devastating this lineup could look when Bo Bichette does, when he is inserted in. But, Carter, do you want to start lefty, righty? Where do you want to go?
I think we'll start with righties because you're going to predominantly see them in the playoffs. There's just more right-handed starting pitchers specifically than there are lefties. So we'll go with the righties here. For me, Bo Bichette, obviously, being in the lineup, like it's a massive difference. Even just in the way you go about constructing this lineup, just having that middle of the order bat, that guy that you know is going to be a very good run producer, makes things a little bit easier on the manager. So yeah, this was a little bit tougher to do without Bo Bichette. But I think we'll just go by threes here because I think the first three, well, it's going to be the second spot. 1 and 3, fairly obvious. They've been doing this for a long time now. It's George Springer at number 1. It can't be anybody else. This guy's on fire. He was pretty much the best hitter in all of baseball in September. Very good in the second half of the season, top 5 in all of baseball. Honestly, as a hitter, probably the entire season. That wouldn't be a crazy argument to make. So George Springer being my number 1 guy here. I'll skip to Vladdy at number 3. Again, you're not going to change that. We've seen that Vladdy is the most successful in the 3 spot. What kind of success we have is still to be determined, but it's the number 2 spot. And against right-handed pitchers, for me, like it's really either Nathan Lucas or it's Addison Barger. Those are the 2 guys that I was debating about. If Bo Bichette is not in the lineup, I'm going Nathan Lucas here. And it's because the contact ability, I think just with the playoff scenario in general, like having Addison Barger in that 2 spot might be putting a little bit too much pressure on him. Being a younger guy, Nathan Lucas being, 30 years old, having a little bit more of that league experience. I just think that kind of fits the mold a little bit better in that number 2 spot. And then just off of recency bias as well, just who has been playing a better caliber of baseball recently. Nathan Lucas has just been more effective at the plate. You get a little bit better of a floor with Nathan Lucas. Again, you can hopefully continue to keep that lineup moving for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., for some of your other guys to come up, hopefully with runners on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Nathan Lucas was the easy choice for me. To be honest, there wasn't even a debate here with me. I think him in that 2 slot just works out really well. the contact ability that he has, the ability to put the ball in play, it always does give you a chance, right? And to move a runner over like George Springer, hopefully, with George Springer and his ability to hit extra bases, he gets on two. Even if Nathan Lucas can punch something through the gap, George Springer has the chance to score right off the bat like that, right? You don't need a huge, towering double, triple from Nathan Lucas home run. You just need something hit hard and through the infield and to hopefully score George Springer. So yeah, Nathan Lucas there, absolutely, Carter.
And just with the clutch factor as well, I feel like Nathan Lucas has come up with a lot of big swings recently. So
Yep.
giving him more at-bats farther up in the lineup, especially against, a right-handed pitcher, I think that is going to benefit the Toronto Blue Jays. So for the next three, this is where you could have a little bit of parity, just based off everything we've done here. We didn't talk about this previously, but obviously doing a podcast, if you guys didn't know, we live together as well. A lot of the time, we're on very similar wavelengths. This is who I have through the 4, 5, and 6 spot for the Toronto Blue Jays against righties. I got Addison Barger here at that 4 spot. A little bit of an iffy move here. Again, without Bichette, that 4 spot is a little rough. I don't trust Anthony Santander after what we've seen in the last bits of the regular season to be in that 4 spot. That might be a guy that I could see finding his way there at some point. I really don't think that happens game 1, but I have Addison Barger there. Again, just to lack of anyone else. I would have Daulton Varsho there, but we've seen this weird thing where if Daulton Varsho is hitting 4 or 2, he just can't hit. He's just not very good when he's hitting high in the order. For some reason, he does a little bit better. Maybe it's he sees more pitches. Maybe it's just him settling into the game. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but Daulton Varsho hits better when he hits 5, 6, 7, lower down in the order. So that's why I have Addison Barger there. Obviously, he can still hit home runs. You still get that swing of the bat. If Nathan Lucas gets on base, George Springer hopefully getting on base. You have Vladdy, who's probably going to hit a single, let's be completely honest. So you got Addison Barger, hopefully there to drive in some runs. Alejandro Kirk, again, if he had a little bit more power, I'd probably put him at 4. Again, a guy that I'm more than happy putting in at number 5. We've seen in the last game of the season how effective he can be at driving in runs. And then I do have Daulton Varsho kind of holding it down to that 6 spot.
Yeah, so we differ a little bit. For me here, I went Anthony Santander in the 4 hole. To me, it's upside. I know that if Santander, and honestly, the swing started to look better. He almost had the home run in, I think it was the second last game that just sort of tailed out right of the foul pole. The swings look strong. He's going to have swing and miss. That's part of Anthony Santander's game. But if he can get you a big home run, I think I trust just with what Addison Barger has been giving us lately. Yes, he can hit the long ball, but I don't know that the consistent production is necessarily there to be a 4-hole hitter right now. And I think with the pedigree of Anthony Santander, I'm putting him there. I don't love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not fully convinced or anything like that. But if I'm looking at this through Blue Jays management mentality, I'm probably going with the seasoned guy and Anthony Santander there. Then I do go Kirk and Varsho right after that. I love Varsho. I would love to put Varsho in the 4-hole, but I 100% agree with you. For some reason, when he hits in that 6 spot, he just seems to do better. And honestly, if you can get a little bit of power in the middle of your lineup, something that maybe can start churning there where you don't maybe go to Anthony Santander in that spot instead, I think Varsho fits perfectly right there. Carter, I'm very interested to see. Obviously, so with that, it also pushes Addison Barger right behind Varsho for me there.
Yeah, so I have Anthony Santander at number 7. I think the biggest thing there, with the lineup construction, is you're going to have that power guy at number 4. And the biggest thing is you need Alejandro Kirk at 5, because that's going to be a guy that's not going to strike out if he comes up with 2 outs. If he has 2 strikes on him, we know how effective he can be with clutch hitting. So you kind of have that guy where you're kind of going all or nothing. That's your boomer bust guy in that number 4 spot. Hopefully he hits a home run, gets that extra base hit. But if not, maybe there's 2 outs. I trust Alejandro Kirk there to put the ball in play and hopefully make something happen at that number 5 spot. Yep. So yeah, it's the same thought process. We have Anthony Santander, Addison Barger switched. I can definitely see Anthony Santander going up to that 4 spot very quickly if we see literally anything from him early on. But again, just from what I've seen, not quite enough yet to move him up into that spot. So then I have Ernie Clement still in against righties at number 8, and then Andres Jimenez. This will be a common theme at the number 9 spot. The defense is just too good in the playoffs to not have in the lineup.
Yeah, and you know what? We've seen it, right? Even if you look at the first game against the Tigers and the Guardians, there were some fielding errors that came back to bite them. Really, that game came down to 2 misplays, and that bit the team. And so, for those of you who watched yesterday anyway, and in this one, yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think Andres Jimenez in that 9 hole doesn't kill you. I think, yes, if Andres Gimenez is hitting 4, I think you're in a little bit of a panic. But him hitting 9 and maybe the ability to flip over a lineup. And Ernie Clement, at this point, I just want him in every day. I think he's that solid that I don't want him out of this lineup. And obviously, when we get into the left-handed pitching, I think we all can sort of justify and know where Ernie Clement is going to be hitting in that lineup. But yeah, so I'm exactly the same as you. We do have the one flip with Santander and Barger, but other than that, the lineup is very similar. Let's get right into.
Yeah, I just want to kind of go into the emphasize like how much Bichette kind of means to this lineup. That's really the only difference that we had, and it makes like so much. It just makes me feel so much better seeing Bichette in that lineup at that 4 spot. A guy again that's not going to strike out. He can hit the home run. He can hit the double. He can hit the single. You really have all outcomes in play, and then you do have the ability right after that. If you wanted to piggyback Anthony Santander, for some reason, for me, just the difference between the 4 compared to the 5 spot, it makes me a whole lot more comfortable having Anthony Santander at the 5 spot rather than the 4. Especially early on. And just it feels like more of a safety net having Bichette at that 4 spot.
Yeah, it's not a throwaway 4 hole, just boom or bust, right? Bichette can do so many different things. You're spot on with that. And then you can go Anthony Santander, and then you got Kirk right after that as another safety net. It's Bichette makes this lineup so much more dangerous. And we're going to be harping on that. And I pray to God that when the lineup comes out, and when it does, we're hoping to get you guys a TikTok or something if it does come out on the Friday, so we can really break it down. It might come out the Saturday morning, depending on game time. If it is a later game, it might come out Saturday morning. If it's an earlier game Saturday, then it may come out late Friday, and we'll get that out for you guys as well on a short TikTok, Instagram reel, whatever it is. We'll make sure if it is a tweet, follow us on all the social medias and make sure you guys do get all of that info as well. But Carter, let's roll that right into the left-handed pitching. And I'm going to ask you this right off the bat. Not even ask you this. I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. George Springer will not move out of the 1 hole for me. He is too good, too electric, too stable. Season MVP right now. George Springer can do it all. Keep him in the 1 hole. You want this guy to get as many possible at-bats as possible. I don't care if it's a lefty. I don't care if it's a righty. Keep George Springer in this lineup.
I got 3 guys in every single scenario that are never moving. George Springer's always staying at the number 1. Vladdy's always staying at the number 3, and Andres Gimenez is not moving his spot away from that number 9 spot.
Yeah,
there's no reason for that guy not to be hitting number 9. I quickly just wanted to backtrack about the Daulton Varsho point we made about him hitting 4 compared to hitting 6. When he's hitting 4, he has an average of 0.83 and an OPS of 487. When he's hitting 6, he has a 308 average with an OPS of 1,080. So a little bit different stats there. I'm not sure what it is, but there's something to be said about the comfortability for Varsho hitting lower in that lineup.
Yeah, you know what? This was going back to a conversation I think we had in the offseason about where guys hit. Actually, it was around Vladdy. When we were talking about Vladdy hitting the 4 hole or the 3 hole, that's when it was.
It doesn't make sense why it matters that much, but for some reason it does.
So, and this is going back to my playing days, is I always was a second hole hitter.
No, you were a left bench guy. Come on. Sometimes you flirted with the right bench, but you were pretty much a left bench guy.
Yeah, I preferred hitting in the 2 hole because I got to see a few of those pitches and get my timing down. Where some guys can jump in there and they don't have an issue, whatever, they'll work a walk. I was never that guy. I like to be able to put the ball in play. I wouldn't strike out a ton. And I would ground out or whatever, but I would always be in that 2 hole. And it became a thing where one of my buddies that I played with all growing up and then, right till the end that we stopped playing, he would always hit 1. I would always hit 2. And if I think from age 8 and on, we hit in the same exact order every single year. You could just pencil it in. And so there is just something about spots, and it's little things with guys, even if it is a confidence thing, that's what it comes out to be.
Yeah, they had me reverse DHing. I'd go out and pitch, and then they take me out of the lineup, actually, so I wouldn't have to hit. So I was on the Bartolo Colon kind of, treatment there. And I did, again, I had, the once in a while, the big moment. Not necessarily the home run ball, but definitely came up with a big hit when I had to, when it came down to it. But moving on, I guess, to the left-handed side, again, there will be some changes with Bichette. We'll probably see, we will see a left-handed pitcher, whether it is Garrett Crochet, whether it is Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, obviously another guy that is a lefty. So in the next matchup, we will be seeing a left-handed pitcher. So we will be obviously seeing a left-handed lineup. Just going into it again, the number 1 guy, George Springer, obviously. The number 2 guy, again, you could have a few guys here. I really like David Schneider here. Did not think I'd be saying that early on in the season, but just the ability to get on base. And when you have Bichette in this lineup, you get that number 2 guy to get on base with George Springer at number 1, Vladdy at number 3, and then you get pretty much everybody behind Bichette. There's 4 guys that I'm pretty confident in. that's a pretty good lineup. So I'd be more than happy with a walk there in that number 2 spot. Davis has done it against right-handed pitchers. He's done it against left-handed pitchers. He's really kind of found his stride in this season. So I'm pretty confident throwing Davis Schneider out there as long as he stays tried and true to his own game.
Yeah, and I think that's something that won't mess around with Davis Schneider. I think right from when he was brought up, that was always the upside was the on base percentage, right? And him being able.
We did see that falter though. Like when things went bad, he was chasing, and that was the issue. He kind of went away from what made him good. It was his ability to command the strike zone.
Sure, but I would say, I guess this season, right, since he got brought back up from AAA,
I'll give you that.
He's been a lot more solid, and I think he knows what kind of player he has to be now. And I don't think he's a guy that would now go and change something just because it's the playoffs. I don't feel like he's that type of guy that it's the moment, right? He's going to be Davis Schneider.
There's another point. Like, do you think for some of these hitters, especially at the top of the order, like compared to when Bichette's in the lineup, compared to he's out of the lineup, do you think like the feeling that like I need to get that big hit and I need to do maybe a little bit too much kind of creeps in a little bit more compared to when Bichette's in the lineup?
Absolutely. And I don't think that for guys like Davis Schneider or Ernie Clement.
Like Vladdy, right?
But Vladdy, Varsho, Santander.
I mean, Springer can't do no wrong right now. I don't think he cares.
No, I didn't put him in
me
that
behind him or Aaron Judge. Like he's just going to be hitting.
Yeah, he's just going to do his thing. No, 100% agree. I got Davis there as well. Obviously, I mean, shocking, I guess. I do have Vladdy and I do have Santander, the same exact thing. I just swapped out the 2-hole for me. I'm guessing you don't have Santander there either.
No, again, I don't like him in the 4 spot, and I don't love this against lefties, but again, I just didn't like having Santander there. I got Kirk just because, again, I don't mind him being in the middle of the order. I don't love him at 4 just because of the profile, but if I like having him at 5, I love having him at 6, obviously. It's not the craziest thing for him to be at 4, but I mean, if you have if you have Bichette in that lineup at 4, and then it's Alejandro Kirk 5, then I have Anthony Santander kind of coming in at the 6 spot when Bichette's in the lineup. So to not confuse people, I'll just go back to but without Bichette being here. So yeah, I have Vladdy obviously at 3, Alejandro Kirk at 4, just because I don't love Santander there. I do have Santander, however, at 5, just because I don't think you can hit Daulton Varsho. I know he has been very good against lefties recently, had the grand slam against the lefty, but I don't love the lefty-lefty matchup prototypically for Daulton Varsho. So I got Santander, and then I got Barry Bonds in the 6th spot, Ernie Clement holding it down with no Bichette.
That's right. Hey, you know what the good part about Daulton Varsho is? We just saw that massive home run that he hit come off a lefty.
Yeah.
So, this guy has the ability to do so, but it is a very different sample size for him being good against the lefties compared to not being great against lefties. So, again, Ernie Clement, for me, that's exactly where he comes in, is right after Daulton Varsho. I had Santander, Kirk, Varsho, Ernie, and then I clean it up with Straw and Jimenez.
See, I don't like the Straw play there because I think what Straw's role is in the playoffs is you need him to run the bases. You need him to be that defensive replacement. Yeah. And who else is doing that if you have Miles Straw in your lineup? Like you could throw IKF, I guess, as a base runner, but like I'm way more comfortable having Miles Straw. So I know that defense matters a lot in the playoffs, but with this current Toronto Blue Jays lineup, like I feel way more comfortable having Miles Straw in the late game scenarios where he can help this team out. And like just having Miles Straw in the everyday lineup, like he's not being advertised as the bat. So I rather have IKF there, play good defense kind of in the infield. Again, we'd have different positions the way this works out, but I kind of rounded out. I have Daulton Varsho at 7, by the way, and Ernie Clement at 6. I don't know if you guys have that flipped.
Oh, I had it flipped. Yeah.
See, I like Clement way better than Varsho.
I'm okay with that. Again,
because I just like you go down, like you look at the stats from Varsho, he's hitting like 200 with an OPS of like maybe 600. I'd have to fact check that, but it's not good against left-handed pitchers. Right. I know it's been good recently, but again, there's like once in a while big moments. I don't think you can rely on that in the playoffs.
I don't hate what you're saying either. I could be swayed that way. I just think that Daulton Varsho's profile to me is maybe a guy that could come up in a bigger situation or behind those guys in a big RBI spot, where I do trust Ernie with that as well, especially against lefties. But just who he is, I don't know, Carter. It was more of a feeling, a gut thing. If I was the one making the lineup, that's who I'm writing on the card. I got to go with the gut. And to me, that's Daulton Varsho, just for the same fact that I think he could hit that towering blast just like he did off the lefty. I think that could happen. He can be that guy. I don't know if I'm seeing a massive home run in that situation coming from Ernie Clement.
Yeah, if like you're looking for a home run, I guess it's slightly more likely with Varsho, but for the most part, for this one, I have to agree to disagree. I think just we've seen Ernie Clement do it from the left-handed side, just a little bit more comfortable with him doing a job compared to Daulton Varsho in that scenario. Yeah, I have IKF there just simply because I don't want Miles Straw in my lineup. I want him available later. Don't love IKF there, but that's kind of where you're at. You don't need to have IKF in if you got Bichette. So that's another big thing with having Bichette back. And then again, on Gimenez, there will never be a situation unless, maybe he in the first 3 games of the ALDS, he hits a home run in every single game. Maybe move him up to 8. Maybe I'll give him that, but probably not going to be moving on Gimenez from that number 9 spot. I'm going to quickly kind of just rifle through the left-handed side of this because it has been going a little bit long. And again, it's relatively similar from the left-handed side. So same, the top 3 exact same. George Springer, Daulton Varsho, not quite Daulton Varsho, David Schneider at the number 2 spot still. And then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I have Bichette at 4. I think you probably have the exact same top 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. No complaints.
Yeah, we'll just move on from there. I'll just kind of rifle off the next 5. So I have Alejandro Kirk there. Again, if you have Santander, I don't mind that. I have Santander being at that number 6 spot. And then the exact same kind of idea. I had Ernie Clement ahead of Daulton Varsho, so I got him at number 7. Varsho at 8. Jimenez at number 9.
Yeah. And that's the lineup. So again, you guys can disagree. You can agree with us. You can leave your comments, feelings, thoughts down below. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk the bullpen and who gets a position here. Who's the top 5 guys you believe in? We'll talk about all that on the other side of this break. Today's episode also brought to you by FanDuel. You guys know how much I love FanDuel, and it goes without saying, I like sports betting. I find it a ton of fun, especially when your team is playing in the playoffs. Makes it even that much better. But NFL is here. The season is here, and FanDuel has offers you don't want to miss. I love betting on the NFL as well. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's a ton of bonus bets. I mean, that is a ridiculous amount of bonus bets. Take advantage while you can. There was one that was like $150. There was one that was $200. Now it's $300. So get in on it. MLB playoffs, NFL season, NHL season starting just next week. So lots to bet on. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. So Carter, continuing on, we want to talk bullpen. Obviously, we will remove Jose Berrios as of right now from the 13 pitchers that you are allowed. So I'm going to put this out there with Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber, Trey Savage, Chris Bassitt, Max Scherzer. That takes away 5 from your 13. You're sitting with 8 remaining slots left. Who are your 8 remaining? And then we'll talk about top 5s and everything after that. But I just want to hear the names you got penciled in.
Yeah, so and I'll start with no particular order. I'll just say like who is in my bullpen here. I got Jeff Hoffman, Brayden Fisher, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Brendan Little, Louis Varland, Yariel Rodriguez. And this is where you have to start to make a few decisions. Like you have Eric Lauer, Tommy Nance was the guy that was in here as well, and then Mason Fluharty. So one of those guys has to get cut. And that's why I said somebody's going to get left out because Tommy Nance has been very good when he's pitched for the Toronto Blue Jays this year. But with what I think you need from bullpen construction, I think you do need Eric Lauer as that long relief guy. You have so much uncertainty with the back end of your rotation. Even with Trey Savage, I'm very confident in him. But again, like short leash in the playoffs, things can happen. Again, guy making his first playoff start, his 4th start ever in the major leagues. Like a lot can go wrong. I don't think it will necessarily, but you got to be prepared for that. Max Scherzer, I mean, it's been all over the place. Chris Bassitt coming off the injury. You never really know. So I think you got to have Eric Lauer in that bullpen. So it really just comes down to Tommy Nance and it comes down to Mason Fluharty. And I like to have, again, a little bit of variety when it comes to my bullpen arms. And Mason Fluharty has been on an absolute run. His last 7 appearances has not given up a run. Got to play the hot hand. Go back to 2024. Mason Fluharty makes the playoff roster. And unfortunately, again, it's not even really due to his performance. Just like there's just not enough spots. And it's Tommy Nance not making this playoff roster, unfortunately.
Nope, I 100% agree. That's exactly what I have. And I'll tell you the reason why I need to keep Mason Fluharty. Not only for the stats that he just put up in his last 7, Carter, but it's the ability to get both sides of the dish out. And I think that you can utilize him against lefties as well. I think he can get job done. I think he can get the job done against righties. I just like having a little bit of an upside because we don't know how good Brendan Little is going to be or what usage they can use him. So you have a few guys like Brayden Fisher, like Mason Fluharty that can get guys out from both sides of the dish. And I think they're going to be very important as we move forward throughout the playoffs here. So no, 100% agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, like you need just multiple lefties out of your your bullpen. Like I don't know if I necessarily love like if you have those kind of matchups with like you have a powerhouse lefty, like maybe like a Cody Bellinger comes up to the plate, or like you get Jarren Duran, and then you have Mason Fluharty. Like I don't know if I necessarily love that in a big moment. But he got Shohei Ohtani out. He got Mookie Betts out. I mean, just got to give him the credit, I guess. I hope it doesn't come necessarily down to that. But I guess that kind of transitions into my next thing. Is we've seen a lot this year, like John Schneider kind of set his players up for success and really have that platoon kind of role. We've seen it really with a lot offensively, with, Ernie Clement hitting against righties, David Schneider hitting against righties, Ernie Clement hitting against lefties, yada, 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 continuing on to that. And you've seen the same idea in the bullpen. Brayden Little being predominantly against lefties, sending your right-handed pitchers up against righties. Are you still deploying that same kind of mentality with, like the way where I'm sitting, I guess maybe I should start off with this, is I kind of trust our right-handed pitchers significantly more at this point than our lefties. So are you valuing like platoon kind of advantage and like still setting your guys up for the most amount of success possible? Or are you just going for your dogs at this point? Get your best bullpen guy, the guy that has the grossest stuff, no matter who it's against, just my guy's better than your guy.
It really depends. It really depends for me. I'm not a big Brayden Little guy right now. I don't have the confidence that he is going to get a ton of job done. Do I think he can? Yes, absolutely. But it's very day to day in what he can bring, and I'm very worried about it. So no, I'm not necessarily being like, oh well, hey, it's two lefties, so let's just Brayden Little get up in the pen. No, that's not really where I'm at, because I do believe that Braden Fisher and Mason Fluharty could come out in a 6th inning role, and maybe have just as good of a shot to get out of that inning as a guy like Brayden Little. So yes, it's still, I guess, a little bit of a platoon, but it's not so much, just because it's lefties, we're going Brayden Little. I don't think that. Or, we're facing the top of the order here. I think it could be this scenario where, hey, these are the best guys. We're in the 8th inning that we're going to face. Maybe we go Hoffman here, or we go Sir Anthony Dominguez here, because we need to get these guys out. And then you can throw it over to somebody else in the 9th if need be. I could see that happening. I don't think I trust Brayden Little like that. So Eric Lauer, on the other hand, like, you bring him out in a long relief role. Absolutely. That's just going to be probably his role. So I could 100% see them bringing him in that type of really matchup based position.
Honestly, really see where you're at with Brayden Little. So, like, I think Eric Lauer, like Mason Fluharty, Brayden Little, like, say it's the 7th inning, I don't know, a clean inning. You just have somebody that you want to go out there. Like, who are you trusting out of those three? Like, who's your number one out of those three lefties?
I don't know.
You're really, like, you're that, like, out on Brayden Little at this point.
This is my issue with Brayden Little, right? If you're facing a Yankees team and you have runners on 1st and 2nd, say, right? And you decide, okay, we got to go to the bullpen. I don't trust Brayden Little in that position. Maybe to start an inning and the bases are clean, okay. I don't think I can trust Brayden Little to go in there and you have to face 3 batters. And if you walk the 2 and score a run like that, I can't help you. Like, we're just screwed. So I think, to me, Brayden Little would be, you have to bring him in at the start of an inning and you have to get somebody else ready to go, so that if he gets through those 3 batters and then starts to, whatever, or these 3 batters without getting the 3 outs, then you can flip-flop it to somebody else. But I don't think I can bring Brayden Little in right now and have confidence that he's going to go in there and get it done. I think in a situation with runners on base, I would much rather go to, say it's 2 outs, runners on 1st and 2nd, bring in Mason Fluharty. We've seen him do it before.
I actually love that take from you. Yeah, it's maybe a little bit like not the most common take out there. Like, I think, like, this is where I'm at with it, which is a little bit weird. And this is kind of what you said as well, is that, like, I trust Brayden Little more, like, in totality. If, like you said, give him the clean inning. Like, I'm much rather have Brayden Little in that high leverage situation than a guy like Mason Fluharty. But exactly like you said, if there is a spot where there's inherited runners and it's like, you need to get this guy, I don't necessarily know if you want to give that to Brayden Little because of the walkability. But one thing that we could be downplaying a little bit is, if he comes in a high leverage situation, a lot of times, like, the walks can kill you, but a lot of these times, if Brayden Little's going in, like, he's probably going to go in, I think, against the better players. I think that's the way they're going to set it up, is that if it's like the superstar, the face of the franchise, they're probably going to go to Brayden Little compared to Mason Fluharty. And a common theme with the face of the franchise is that they're going to want to win the game. They're going to want to be the guy that makes the difference and makes that game-changing swing. And that kind of plays to Brayden Little a little bit with the stuff, because a lot of the time it looks like it's a strike and it's just not. So that's the issue that we have with Little, is the command. But I think the guys are going to be more inclined to chase. In a big moment, the pressure's on, the Rogers Center's loud. There's a lot more outside factors going on. So I think that plays up to Brayden Little a little bit. But yeah, just with the walk issues, like, if it's like a massive moment, and I think for me, it's where there's runners in scoring position, more so than if there's just a runner on first. If you get runners in scoring position and there's less than 2 outs even, Like that's where you start to have some issues. So yeah, I think it's really going to be like situationally based on how they roll out those left-handed pitchers. But to kind of end off this episode quickly, just kind of going into who you trust the most. And I think we'll just kind of go from our top 5. And we'll start at number 1. Is it Jeff Hoffman still as your closing pitcher, or have you kind of gone away from that in the month of September?
I really like Sir Anthony Dominguez. I really do. He's growing on me, but I can't for the life of me, because the number one guy you trust has to be your closer. It has to be. And even if in your back of your mind, you're like, Jeff Hoffman, I can't really put all that faith and trust into, too bad. He's our closer. We have to have faith in this guy, because they're not going to go Sir Anthony Dominguez. It's pretty much at this point, it's locked. So for me, it has to be Jeff Hoffman, and you have to believe that he can go in there and get the job done, even if in the back of your mind or in front of your mind or everywhere that you don't believe that he can do it. It sucks to suck a little bit. We have to believe he can do it. You can't go into this game expecting Jeff Hoffman to mess up or thinking he will. You have to go in here like, this guy's our closer, and if they put him in this role, they fully believe in him as well. So I think, as much as I don't want to say that he's my number 1, I think he has to be the number 1.
Brayden Fisher, throw him in there.
I love Brayden Fisher. I absolutely love him.
I just at the point, like, I love Brayden Fisher as well, and he's very good. And I do want him to pitch in high leverage, but I just think, like, you would have made Brayden Fisher your closer. You would have made Sir Anthony Dominguez your closer already. Like this, you wouldn't be doing this in the ALDS game 1. So for anyone that thinks that they're all of a sudden going to go away from Jeff Hoffman, whether it's going really good or really bad, unless like there's 3 scenarios in the playoffs where it goes horribly, which I don't even want to put out there, but they're not going to make this crazy random switch up at the last second. It's going to be Jeff Hoffman as the closer. Again, I kind of like you said, whether you like it or not, whether you have faith in him or you don't, he had a very good month of September, especially the last 3 weeks. So if you're going to come into a situation playing good baseball and playing a very good, like your best brand of baseball debatably all season, that's kind of where Jeff Hoffman's at. So they're definitely not going to go away from that. That leads me to my next 2, and I actually have it that way. It's Sir Anthony Dominguez as my next guy. Again, the walk, still a little bit of a concern, but the stop, it's disgusting. Again, the atmosphere maybe plays up with the chase rates. And then it is actually Brayden Fisher before Brendan Little, which would be my number 4 guy.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. It's Sir Anthony Dominguez and Brayden Fisher. It's those 2 for me as well. But my number 4 is not Brendan Little. Actually, right now, it's Louis Varland. I really like this guy. And you know what? I could throw Yariel Rodriguez in there as well to round it out. I still think Yariel's got what it takes, and I think in big moments, Yariel's a guy that can eat and can rise to the occasion. I think that with the stuff he has. Now, Brendan Little, again, he's your lefty massive reliever, so you have to trust him as well. So he must be in there. But I think any combination of those 6 guys, I can 100% get behind. I really like Louis Varland still, Carter. I think he's going to continually get better. The Blue Jays have him for a long time. I don't think this is a guy that next year we're going to be like, oh, well, we don't really need him. He's not doing very good. I think he's going to continually get better. He's just, and I think he's found his footing lately. The past few outings from him have been good. I think the stuff's been good. I think the energy on the mound's been good. He just brings a dog mentality. Sort of what I used to say about Yariel Rodriguez is sort of how Louis Varland goes out there as well.
See, this is when like I was thinking about this. I was thinking about it in terms of lefties. Like, would I want Brendan Little or Louis Varland in terms of like if he's going against the lefty? So just in terms of guys who I trust.
Sure.
I'd much rather have Brendan Little against a lefty. I'd probably have Louis Varland against a right-handed pitcher, but then you have 3 righties already ahead of Louis Varland. So I think at this point, like you kind of need to go with that lefty-lefty matchup. That's why I went Brendan Little. I actually had a little bit of a debate between Yariel and Louis Varland. I think that was a really hard one for me. Like they're very interchangeable in my opinion. Again, maybe just a little bit based off recency bias, and you get a little bit more off the fastball. Not much. Like Yariel's fastball plays as well. Probably the 2 best fastballs out of the bullpen. Maybe Sir Anthony Dominguez is in there. Maybe Jeff Hoffman when he's on. That's debatable, obviously. But those 2, very interchangeable for me. And then that does leave Mason Fluharty as that number 7 guy. Not that I don't trust him, but again, just maybe the lack of experience kind of being up and down with the Major League club and the AAA club all year. Not really his fault, to be completely honest. Did have a little bit of a tough stretch in the middle of the season and then got sent down a couple of times throughout the back half. But yeah, I'm pretty confident, a lot more confident than I thought I would be, at some points in the year going into the playoffs about this bullpen.
No, you know what? If we would have went right after August, I would be having a full-on panic attack right now. But no, I do have a lot more confidence in this bullpen after seeing the month of September than I would have before. So no, leave us your comments, thoughts, and feelings on everything we talked about today. I know it was a ton. This was a long episode. There was a lot of information and ideas thrown around, but we want to hear from you guys as well. If you agree, if you disagree, Let us know your lineups down in the comments as well if you guys want to type them out. And if they're completely different, or, you throw an interesting idea at us, we might, bring it up moving on through this week. But a lot more to get to the rest of this week as stuff does start to come out and we get to see a more clear picture. Carter, my man, anything else before we kick out of here for the evening?
Yeah, just one quick thing, because we've had so much to talk about. We have continued to forget about this, but we didn't completely forget about it. We've always been wanting to put this in the episode, and I finally remembered today. Shout out to Jim and Haley Holler for winning the Locked On Fantasy League. Knocked me out, so at least I could say the champ, was the one that knocked me out. But yeah, credit to you guys. So the first ever Locked On fantasy champion. And shout out to Ryan Scott, Vinny P. Baby. I like your name as well. And I liked how you pissed Brayden off the entire season with the way that you played fantasy. That was fun to see, just you picking up just every random starting pitcher throughout the year. And it worked pretty well, obviously, getting second out of 20 teams. And then Jeremy, I said that if you did beat me in the third place match, that I would give you the shout out here. To be completely honest, if you ain't first, you're last. That's kind of the way I was approaching this as soon as I lost to Jim. But not to take anything away from you guys that all participated in that fantasy league. Thank you to everyone that was active and participating. But yeah, we will be taking off and talking to you guys once again on Thursday, getting closer and closer to Blue Jays playoff baseball.